How are you?
What's that behind you?
They told me I cannot smoke here.
If you get
I told them,
yeah.
told them I'm from Lebanon, they cannot smoke. I die 5 times per day, I cannot smoke here. Ligo, ligo. Ochi, ochi, mi barata.
Going up.
Keep up. Ah, yeah, up. 5.
Fifth floor. Going down.
Try that, I don't like this. It will not make the sound like the last time. Change microphone.
Σας υπενθυμίζουμε ότι δεν επιτρέπεται η μαγνητοσκόπηση, ηχογράφηση ή φωτογράφηση μέρους ή ολόκληρης της παράστασης. Ευχαριστούμε.
Okay. Although my father had been running a successful business in agriculture, along with my brother and sister, but I never wanted to be an agricultural engineer. I didn't want to interfere in their business, and I didn't want to work in agriculture. I never liked the word of agriculture. But back then, in 1996, when I graduated from school, I applied and my grades were not very good, so the only option, which was the third option, I applied for, and I got accepted in the agriculture department of the American University of Beirut. So I studied agriculture the third year in the university. We go to the Bekaa Valley. We spend 1 whole year there making different practice of agriculture. And during this year, we visited a research center. It's called the Seed Bank, one of the most important on earth and in the Arab world. It's called ICARDA, and it's in the region of Aleppo, near Aleppo in Syria. So ICARDA is the International Center for Agriculture Research in dry areas. Now, there is something important for dry areas. Arid and semi-arid areas like the Bekaa Valley and Aleppo takes a lot of importance for big countries like USA. Why? Because they like always to propose alternative crops. What is alternative crops? Like sunflower. Instead of what? Instead of course, hash and cannabis and opium. Because in these areas, they grow fast and they grow very easily and they don't die and they don't need water. So ICARDA wasn't meant to be in Aleppo, in Syria. The story is in 1977, it was meant to be in the Bekaa Valley, in a semi-arid area near the farm of AUB. They were interested in that area, but President Hafez al-Assad, he offered them free land, thousands of hectares near Aleppo. Why? Because at that time, Lebanon was unstable. That's true, because in 1975, the civil war in Lebanon has started. So Hafez al-Assad was visionary, of course, but he had also information, because his army entered Lebanon in 1976. Now, let me tell you briefly how, like in a small city where there is a conflict or a war, it can grow on an international conflict. I will explain. Let me explain. So Hafez al-Assad entered Lebanon, okay, to crush the left-wing parties supported by the PLO and Palestinians. Palestinians. Okay, he was going with the right-wing Christian parties in Lebanon. He wanted to help them, but directly during the same year, he discovered that these right-wing Christian parties are pro-American and buying weapons from Israel. So directly, he, along with the left-wing Palestinian parties, crushed the right-wing. So he became his enemies directly during the same year. And he made under siege a city of Zahle, a Greek Orthodox city in the Bekaa Valley for 100 days. And look how things escalated. So he was trying to crush the right-wing Christian parties. They got help from Israel. So the Syrian army was in conflict with the Israeli army. The Israeli army crushed all the SAM-5 missiles, deployed it in the Bekaa Valley. All this is between 79 and 82. And there was a massacre of the airplanes, the Russian airplanes. 87 MiG-23 airplanes were shot down. Not a single F-15 was touched. So Brezhnev became very angry. He called Reagan. Reagan told him, I will deploy Marines in Beirut. He told him, I will deploy battleships in the Mediterranean Sea. We are in the peak of the Cold War. I will stop here. So I was acquainted, since I was young, with this archive of photography, analog photography, 35mm films, that my father and the engineers used to photograph every year in order to document the changes of varieties, the type of varieties that they used to buy them as seeds from Holland and from Belgium. So I graduated from AUB. I started a little bit two different practices, photography and helping my brother and sister in buying potato tubers from Holland and Belgium. The variety we were buying at that time was Spunta. Spunta is one of those medical seeds. What drew my attention in Spunta is that we were over 10 to 15 years seeing different varieties in Europe, but we were buying only one variety, which is Spunta. One and only variety every year. So the question I was asking, why we don't try to introduce other varieties? And the European growers, one of the European growers in Spain, he told me once, he told me Spunta is for the countries who has less developed taste. So you can call it, if you want, the variety of crisis. Because during crisis, you don't have time to choose. You take whatever it comes. But later, when there's stability, and they finished from rebuilding Europe, they started being more and more sophisticated. So big, bulky potato tubers disappeared in Europe, in civilized countries, and stayed in underdeveloped taste, maybe. Where's the young guy?
the young Jew.
Yes. It wasn't easy for this crop even to be introduced in Europe. Denis Diderot, the French philosopher, in 1751, during the arrival of potato to Europe, no matter how you prepare it, the root is tasteless and starchy. People didn't like it. It cannot be regarded as an enjoyable food, but it provides abundant, reasonably healthy food for men who want nothing but sustenance. In France, with the encouragement of Louis XVI, Antoine Parmentier, a chemist who wrote a lot about agriculture, he started setting up dinners with the title, Only Potato Dinners. And he invited rich people like Thomas Jefferson, who was very happy to introduce French fries to the United States. Now the issue became a little bit bigger in Europe and in the West, as William McNeill goes. By feeding rapidly growing populations, potato permitted a handful of Europe nations to assert domination over most of the world between 750 and 1950. Furthermore, the European and North American adoption of the potato set the template of modern agriculture, the so-called agro-industrial complex. So big companies now are invited. In other words, the potato fueled the rise of the West. In 1991, there was a new reconfiguration of all the alliances between the West and the Arab world. In 1991, Arab troops went along with Western troops to liberate Kuwait from Saddam Hussein. Syria sent troops also. The Oslo negotiations with the PLO have started. The Lebanese civil war has ended. Hafez al-Assad had threads on all these issues. And James Baker started visiting President Assad in 1991 in order to negotiate about all these problems, about the future of the region. So James Baker was sitting, waiting for President Assad for hours, and in Damascus, they feed you with coffee and tea and water. And then President Assad arrived late. As usual, he was sitting on a high place. James Baker speak for 15 minutes, maximum 20, and always President Assad speak for 7, 8, 9 hours. Also, Henry Kissinger had the same type of long-lasting meetings, and he called it, at that time, 73, the weapon of the weak. It is sucking everything from you. Actually, after 7, 8 hours, you cannot negotiate anymore. You give him what he wants. So James Baker called it the bladder diplomacy. In 1983, Hafez al-Assad had a new type of germination in his head, along with the Iranian Khomeini revolution. A truck arrived to the Marine headquarters in Beirut and killed 240 Marines, one of the biggest kills in the Marines that happened. And then later on, they started this small Shia group kidnapping foreigners. So somehow, Hafez al-Assad was telling indirectly to the West and to President Reagan, call me, speak with me. That's what happened. So President Reagan called Hafez al-Assad, but this time the bladder diplomacy didn't happen, it happened in the opposite direction. While Hafez al-Assad was waiting for 10 minutes before Reagan arrives, he was on hold. President Reagan was horseback riding in his ranch in California.
Mr. Aslan, we're still holding for the president.
اوكي لحظات بيكون الرئيس معنا. يلا.
Sir, we want to make sure that the party we're speaking to in Damascus is prepared to hand the phone to President Assad as soon as President Reagan is available.
Yes, that's the case, yes.
All right, sir, thank you. Sir, we're still getting the president to the phone at the ranch. Please continue to hold, and thank you for holding.
بيقول إنه خليكم على الخط الرئيس في طريقه إلى التليفون.
Aslan, please apologize to the president's office for the delay. The president was out horseback riding.
The President Assad is on the line. I have said that. نعم. ما بعرف شو صاير.
Did you advise the president, please, that we're still holding?
Yes, I did, and he is running the call. Impatient. Yes.
Ranch switchboard?
Yes.
The White House, we have Mr. Aslan in the Situation Room and the office of the President of Syria on the distant. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Mr. Osborne.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, how do you hear me on this line?
Fine.
Okay, and how does the office of the President hear me on this line?
I think they can hear you fine, too.
Okay, then what number is the President?
Calling you, Mr. President. I'm grateful for the kind treatment that you and your government accorded Mr. Jeremy Levin following his escape from captivity in Lebanon, and for the assistance that you provided for his safe return to the United States.